circumstances. We're about building communities, building learning centres, and providing more opportunities for teachers. And at IKan, we work hand in hand with local communities, teachers, and global partners, because we're talking about the state of education. Some of these children have been brought up in extreme circumstances, and that in itself is also having an impact on their education.
98% of rural schools, actually, children learn under trees, under open trees. Making it.
What happened to the schools? Where are all the schools gone?
So to tell you, this current state is critical and it's in very dire needs. And that's why SSGID education programs sought to reach out to those most marginalized and underserved communities.
But thousands of children as well who's going to be benefiting from this training. Welcome to Education Rising, Africa Voices for the Future, a powerful new conversation series brought to you by IKan Academy Group. My name is Diana Powell, and I'm the founder of IKan Academy Group, an education initiative born out of the deep commitment to transfer learning in under-resourced and emergency settings across Africa. So, just to give you a little context about IKan, at IKan, we work hand in hand with local communities, teachers, and global partners to create access to safe, inclusive, and meaningful education, no matter the circumstances. We're about building communities, building learning centers, and providing more opportunities for teachers. So, on today's show, I'm honored to be joined by a gentleman that I've met a few years ago. I was just honored to hear his story back then of his work in South Sudan. So I'm honored to be joined by Romano Ngor Kuot, the Executive Director of the South Sudan Grassroots Initiative for Development, SSGID. And his organization is a national not-for-profit humanitarian and development organization that's been serving communities across the South Sudan for many years. And their mission is to simply uplift the most vulnerable peoples in their communities. I'd like to welcome Romano. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Diane. Good evening to you, or is it afternoon there?
Actually, it's evening.
Wow. Yeah, nice to hear that. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. And actually, I'm honored to have this conversation today with you. So my name is Mr. Romano Ngor Kuot. I am the founder and the executive director of South Sudan Grassroots Initiative for Development, a national humanitarian and national humanitarian and development organization in South Sudan. Yes, nice.
So I've known you for many years now. And we first met in Cairo, Egypt, and so it was a convention that brought together many speakers, leaders in relation to it was women in entrepreneurship. I think that was the focus. But we've kept in contact for many, many years, and we've had many conversations, especially around communities and sustainability, and more recently around education. And it was because of those conversations that we had, that is why IKan Academy Group is partnering with yourself to bring an important initiative, which I know you're going to talk about a little later on, to fruition. But what I would like to speak to you about first is, first of all, just tell us a little bit more about the work you do in South Sudan.
Thank you so much, Diane, for this wonderful opportunity. It has been a while, actually, you are right, since we last met in 2014. But of course, we have been able to reconnect online. And thank you so much for being so passionate about education. Just to share with you a little bit about our story, South Sudan Grassroots Initiative for Development was founded in 2013 amidst the complexities of South Sudan post-independent era. So a group of passionate young people that was headed by me, myself, and other young people and women came together with a shared dream to foster sustainable development in our homeland country, that is in South Sudan. And one of our visions was to empower our people. Yes. So this is how SSGID actually came up. And when we came up, actually, one of our major pillars was actually education. Mm-hmm. And education is not just a word as it is being written, but we actually term it as a tool for change, changing people's lives and also to change the society. So education is one of the programs. Mm-hmm. And as you are aware, the decade of conflict in South Sudan has created a lot of challenges. One of them is the issues to do with illiteracy, high rate of illiteracy, poverty, inequalities, and also diseases. So these are the major concern that actually inspired us to come up with an organization to be actually the change makers of the society, to be the voice of the voiceless, of the masses, the millions of people who don't have the voice to share their dreams, or so that their voices are all actually heard. So we are just formed. We just came up as a body that represent the voices of voiceless, the marginalized communities, the marginalized people. Yes. So that's how we actually came up, Diana. Yes. And one of the major focus for us was actually education. Education is a platform to every society. Without education, you cannot actually. So one of our pillars is that we believe in empowering the teacher, because teachers are the change makers of every society. Teachers actually change the society. And this vision actually gave birth to the South Sudan Grassroots Initiative for Development. And our focus has been on children, the youth, and the educators. And since we had many challenges, since the independence, from economic challenges to literacy challenges, one of the major focus has been how can we invest in education? How can we invest in education if the child of today be empowered with the knowledge and skill necessary for tomorrow? A new generation of leaders to shape a bright future for all. So that is the dream that we've actually been focusing on. Yes.
And you've just said a dream. However, it's becoming a reality now, isn't it?
Yes.
The work yourself, your team, your volunteers have done over the years have been amazing. And you've made tremendous impacts in all those areas that you've just mentioned. And you've touched on something that is very, very dear to me. Myself, I am an educator. I've been teaching for many, many years. And it's one of those professions where you go into it with your heart. And as you mentioned, you impart a part of yourself to your students. Sometimes it's hard, but we keep coming back time and time again over these years, because we are the ones that we could say plant those seeds into those young minds to make them become the leaders of the future. So as you said, education is a priority, especially in the African context. To see Africa, because our series of conversations is about Africa rising, the future of Africa. The future of Africa are the children that we see today, the young people we see today. So we've got to plant that seed, we've got to nurture that seed, we've got to grow the seed. And the seed we're talking about is the mind. So with that backdrop of challenges, when we're speaking about South Sudan as a country, in terms of the challenges it's experiencing, education, as you said, is vital and it's important. But I want you to go into it a little deeper now, and explain more what the current education situation looks like for you in your context and in your work. I want you to for the purpose of the listeners, I want you to kind of paint a more of a defined picture for them, please, Romano.
Thank you, dear Tain. South Sudan, as has faced many challenges since its independence, from the ongoing conflict to economic instability. Yet it is this very struggle that the resilience of the people shine through. So SSGID recognized early that the key unlocking to South Sudan potentiality rely on education. And if the children of today could be empowered with the knowledge and skills necessary for tomorrow, a new generation of leaders could arise to shape the brighter future for all. So from the inception, the schools have been destroyed by conflicts. Most of the infrastructure, the few infrastructures, have actually been destroyed during the aftermath of the conflict. So access to education became a pressing need. And this is where SSGID actually began by working and to ensure that those schools that have been destroyed, they have to be rehabilitated. Also, teachers that doesn't have training centers, they are trained. And materials, quality education materials. So when you look at the current state of status, it is actually critical need. The state of education in South Sudan is in critical need because we don't have education. Most part, there are no learning spaces, conducive learning spaces for children. Most of the teachers are not trained, and most of the children learn under trees in rural areas. And 98% of rural schools, actually, children learn under trees, under open trees, making it very hard for children and actually being exposed to extreme bad weather. See, so these are the challenges. So the challenges raised from the human capacity, the teachers themselves. Because when we talk about the heart of the education, it actually relies on the competencies of the teacher. So most of these teachers are not trained, they lack skills, and most of them are actually primary school teachers. They are mostly primary school, and maybe 20% from secondary school. But above all, if they are not trained also to be teachers, the impact of what they are transferring to children is actually jeopardized. It's in jeopardy. So to tell you, this current state is in critical and it's in very dire need, in a very serious and critical need. There is a very big gap. And children, girls and boys who have the excitement of learning, who have the passion of waking up every morning to walk to school, actually come back with less than 5% knowledge that is being imparted to them and what it means for them to be a generation that can actually create change in society. So the education sector is affected badly, and it is in urgent need for intervention, for well-wishers to support, from teachers training, from infrastructure, for the spaces for learning for children, and even the psychosocial well-being of children itself, because teachers should be there to actually counsel those children and actually to give them the right knowledge. Yeah.
So you mentioned something about the social welfare and well-being of the children, because some of these children have been brought up in extreme circumstances, and that in itself is also it's having an impact on their education. So could you kind of give some context to that as well?
You are right. That question is very valid. Most of these children come from the conflict background where their parents, their children themselves being traumatized. So the teachers should be well prepared. They should be teachers that should be able, not just from the teaching, but they should also be parents to these children to be able to give the right values to the children. And when I talk about the values, it means that the teachers should have the basic required competences or skills to impart that knowledge to children. And most of the learning centers, especially rural areas where formal education are scarce, the spaces become more vulnerable, especially for girls, especially when girls are sitting together with boys and in congestion. Most of these classrooms, if you see the state of sitting arrangement, it is crowded. There are no space for children, like for the disabled children, for the most vulnerable children. And for those children that are learning under trees in the rural areas, you see the wind come, the wind blow, and the dust that come to interrupt the class, and the rain also. So there are a lot of challenges. A lot of challenges. Yes.
You've mentioned quite a few things. You've mentioned children's welfare. You've mentioned also the classroom environment. The fact that many schools are experiencing these type of scenarios. The schools are not in abundance, I'm assuming, because you're talking now about learning spaces. When you refer to learning spaces, so are we saying here that learning takes place not just in the classroom or in the school, or in other informal spaces? And if that is the case, what does that look like? And because you mentioned about the boys and the girls and other circumstances that could actually impact on a child's learning. Can you speak to that, please, for a minute?
Yeah, one of the major challenges right now is about the space itself. The classes don't have benches. They don't have also windows. They don't have doors. And at the same time, the children are overcrowded in classes. So there are no spaces where, there's always a standard for every school.
What sizes are we talking about? When you say overcrowded, what do you mean overcrowded? Like,
it means one class.
Average type of size.
Yes, in one class, you might find 200 children in the class, about 200 plus, or more than 200, or 150. And those classes are just small in size. So just look at that. So health-wise, it is also very risky for children. So these are the challenges.
What I'm kind of getting to now is, because we're talking about the state of education, we're talking about the lack of training or the need for training. We're talking about the sizes of the classrooms, the conditions of the schools. But where are all the schools gone? Why are we talking about outdoor facilities or outdoor spaces? Sorry. What happened to the schools? And why are there such a shortage of teachers?
Yeah, just as I mentioned before, there are many challenges that the country is facing. One is economic challenges, and also most of the competent few teachers actually go and look for other opportunities. So there is also another challenge of lack of payment of salaries, actually the teachers. So the few teachers, they don't have a standard or competitive salary that actually motivate them, that keep them to keep on pushing. The current recent approved salary rate is $40 per month. But if you
say $40
per month, yes. And that is just the standard. That is one of the greatest effort that the partners working, the developmental partners working in South Sudan have actually pushed for it, and they have been able to really commit. And that doesn't guarantee that all teachers in South Sudan are getting that $40. Most of the other schools, they are getting, I think, less than $5 per month because of the inflation.
Are these teachers, when you say $40, $5, are they trained teachers or are they more volunteer teachers? I think, as we mentioned earlier on.
These are volunteer teachers, and actually teachers from primary school, primary leavers, mostly. Most of these teachers actually are primary leavers. Some of them did not even complete primary schools because of one way or another reason. Maybe the student was not able to cater for his school fees, so he just decided to be back in this village. And based on his passion for the children, just decided to be a volunteer in the school. So those are the challenges. Yes. But mostly the issues of motivation and also the skills, lack of skills, lack of teachers training is one of the major factors. Because these teachers,
you mentioned, we've had conversations. Are there any facilities to train teachers? When you're speaking about lack of, are there facilities to train teachers?
There are no facilities to train teachers. There are no facilities. In Tony, there was an organization called CIDA who tried during those years of 90s. They were having a temporary center that was used for teachers training. But of course, that center, I think up to 2006, 2005, it actually ended. That funding actually ended, and right now that center is not working. So that is just a case study of Tony South in particular. Yes.
I want our listeners to digest what Romano was saying here, actually. And it's quite shocking. Especially, you know, when we are teaching in what we will consider schools that have the facilities and the trained teachers, and it's challenging enough, let alone to now listen to the South Sudan context of education. I want us to just be still and to hear and for this to resonate. So, Romano, there is a teacher shortage. Where are all the teachers gone? Those who were trained, where have they gone? Because you're talking about volunteer teachers. So where are the trained teachers gone?
Thank you, Diane. Most of these teachers, they have gone for green pasture. They are going to pursue their dreams, to pursue where they can get living. And that's one of the major challenges. Because without teachers' motivation, without incentive that actually facilitate them to work from their distances. Because one of the other challenges also is the distance where these teachers and even these students work from, where they move from morning to where they move from home to school and from school back home. So that is one of the challenges. And so you will find that most of these teachers, the few that have the basics skills, the basic requirements, actually they leave, they go and look for other green pasture, they go and look for where they find the living. And that's why SSGID education program sought to reach out to those most marginalized and underserved, where many schools have been affected, where teachers have actually left, where schools have been destroyed, maybe by conflict or by flooding or by other factors. And SSGID has been working to advocate for rebuilding of these schools, especially rehabilitating those schools, and also to train these teachers, and by providing them with educational material where they most need it. So this is the major thing that we are focusing on. And we are focusing on the establishment of community-based learning centers, especially in rural areas where formerly schools have been scared, has been affected. And these centers can become the safe haven for children, because those centers, if they are established, those temporary learning centers, they could become the safe spaces where children grow, where they can dream. And this could actually create an inclusivity. Because there are also communities, those marginalized and underserved communities, they will use that as part of their growth for them, and also inclusivity. It will also promote their inclusivity, because if other communities that have that have the basic schools, and what happened to those underserved or those marginalized communities? Yes. So these are the major things.
You touched on a community, Tonj County, yeah. Why there? Why were we focused on? And I know we're gonna talk about the initiative, because we haven't really. Those who are listening, you've heard Romano speak about an initiative we're working on together. He hasn't touched on it yet, but what we're trying to do is trying to give you a bit more context, the backdrop of why this initiative came through. Romano, why you mentioned Tonj County? Can you explain more about this particular community, please?
Yeah, actually, just to mention to you that Tonj is actually part of South Sudan, is one of the counties in South Sudan. And this is one of the areas that SSGID has reached thousands, has been able to advocate for thousands of children across South Sudan, from urban centers to most remote villages. And through our education program, SSGID program, children who had little hope of attending schools now walk with the path of learning or the path of hope. And you might have seen during the recent engagement in June, we have been inspired by these communities because the children, they have the historical, just like any other part of South Sudan, the children have the passion to learn. The way they fill schools, if you look in the morning, how they just fill up the streets, running to schools, their desire, their aspiration, it actually moved us a lot. And we began that journey with them. We said, we can't wait. Let's see how we accompany this program in Toy South, just like another part of South Sudan. The children are passionate and they have great dream. They have that desire. You see them filling the streets, running to school in the morning with giggling sound, with the happiness, and you just remain speechless, Diana. You have seen the pictures of how
I've seen so many of the pictures.
Those schools are filled up, under grass patch. How they are filled up under grass patch. Those grass patch local tukul with open where there is no wall. You have also seen those schools where the whole building where they don't have windows, there's no doors, and you just see the motivation of these children, their aspiration. So that's where SSGID has actually been keen to focus on this particular county and to just see that we can start a journey, and that one step can be allied to other part of South Sudan. And we pray that one day the same program can be also implemented in most of the areas, most of the marginalized and the underserved communities of South Sudan. And particularly our focus are on girls and boys, because SSGID is focused on girls' education, because girls are the future of any society. They are actually the backbone. And when you educate one girl, you are empowering a nation. And the fact that they continue to remain the most vulnerable group in South Sudan society or in any other part of the world, this is where SSGID invests heavily to ensure that the education program is actually realized.
Romano, tell us about the 100 Teachers campaign. What is it? Why is it so important right now?
Yeah, one of the vision for us to have this teachers education program is that education cannot thrive without dedicated teachers. SSGID recognized that without investing in the training and professional development of teachers, lasting change would remain out of reach. That is the major concept, that if we don't train these teachers, then let's forget about the future. Let's forget about so SSGID considers investment, support to teachers with the tools, with the skills needed, with the materials, with the facilitation, with the incentive to motivate them, will really create a very big impact. And that would make a generation that will actually make a generation of change, a generation that will rise up, children that will rise up as peace builders, as farmers, as doctors, as engineers, that will rebuild the nation of South Sudan. So without teachers, capacity development, there will be no future, dear Diana.
Back in June, as I said, IKan Academy Group is working in partnership with SSGID to bring about this 100 Teachers campaign. And I just want to applaud, Romano, your volunteers on the ground, because they did intensive survey of 20 schools in the county, and the feedback from those schools, the teachers, senior leadership, has helped to develop this initiative. Can you tell us a little bit more about what was happening on the ground in terms of the research behind this 100 Teachers campaign?
Yeah, the 100 Teachers program or pilot or a program actually is an initiative which we believe that it will be like a drop of an ocean. When you drop like one in an ocean, there will be, it's just like planting seed, and that will actually be that will send light across South Sudan, because one journey, one step. If 100 teachers are trained today, just as you have mentioned, we were able to conduct a survey, and these teachers actually spoke out. If you look at that report, they actually shared with us the challenges, their ambition, where they have gaps, what they need, what kind of tools, what kind of resources do they need. So it was a transparent process. And these teachers were able to participate in that survey. They were able to speak up their mind. And they have actually been able even to vote, and be able to say, these are our priorities, these are our priorities, these are the skills that we need, these are the thing that we need. So basically, this program of 100 teachers is just a drop of an ocean that if it succeeds, it will be a light to other part of South Sudan, and that will be a one step toward 1,000 journey. So that 100 teachers program, we are believing that it will succeed, and that many individual donors and well-wishers will actually be convicted to pull out their penny, to pull out whatever they have, and to contribute for the light of South Sudan. They are going to be the light, the starting of the light. Because the knowledge that they will transfer, the value that they are going to create, that is the future of the country. And that value alone, that change begin with them, with those 100 teachers. The change begin with them. And the hope also begin with them. The hope for the country begin with them also. So it is actually an important project.
When we're speaking about the campaign, so there's different elements to it in terms of the training of the teachers, the training of the senior leaders. But it's also, like you mentioned before, it's about cascading this information, cascading this learning to other counties. So we've spoken about this, and you've recommended that also there'll be mentors or certain selected teachers that will go out and teach others. Why is that element important to the 100 Teachers campaign, that other trained teachers who's come through this program go out and train others? Why is that element so important? Why does that training need to take a context of that region in terms of its delivery?
Yeah, that one is a very, when we train these 100 teachers and also train a select of a few competent teachers to become teachers, to become trainers of trainees, it will actually spark a story within the community itself. And as I told you earlier, that most of these young teachers, they are actually passionate about education, despite the fact that they don't have basic skills, but their desire, their aspiration, their love for the children, it actually shows that their story will actually spark a serious reform, a serious change. Everyone will be like them. Every teacher will run and say, I want to be like those teachers, because their story alone will inspire most of other teachers that will also join. So when we begin with those 100 teachers, we also plan that there would be teachers of training of trainers. And those TOT trainers will actually be there to also train other teachers in the nearby communities. Because when we look at the resources, of course, we are looking also at the cost effectiveness and looking at the value for resources, value for money, and we are trying to reach as many as possible. So the initiative is actually to promote sustainability and how this program can actually reach out to more schools and target many children. So the teachers, the training of trainees will be a very successful. It will be a very important step. It will create a story that will actually spark many other teachers to actually be convicted and actually to sign up and to join the training program. Yeah.
I just want to remind those who are listening on our social media platforms. This is Education Rising, African Voices for the Future. My name is Diana Powell, and we're here talking to Romano from SSGID. He's actually talking about his initiatives, the context of education in South Sudan, and the new initiative 100teachers campaign. So, Romano, what we're saying here is that we need help from those who are listening in. What type of help do we need?
Yes, come again.
What help? Well, you've spoken about the initiative. You've spoken about the challenges that teachers have and the importance of education to children. What is your call to action now? What is it you want the people around the world who's listening in right now? What would you want them to do? How would you want them to support you, and how would you want them to support the teachers?
Thanks so much, dear Diane. Let me just go back a bit and share that this journey of education, it starts with the love of children that actually wake up every morning, that are passionate, that are having their own ambition, that are having their own stories to share. So for us, we are just here as a voice of these children who have their own aspiration, children who have their own dreams, children who want to be doctors, children who want to be professors, children who want to be farmers, children who want to be engineers. So what we are here is we are just here to call for well-wishers, for donors, to support this initiative and to support this initiative by investing in teachers' capacity, and also supporting the teachers in terms of providing them with teachers' incentive, providing them with the teachers' training, and also providing space or facilitation that actually make it easier for these teachers to reach to school and be able to hold the space for children. We are looking at those teachers to be peace builders, to be the agents, that can transform those children to go back home, and also that these children will change their mothers, their fathers, their brothers at home, to change into a new culture, to be change makers. So education is not just about reading and writing. We are looking at also these children will actually be a change agent. They will actually be ambassadors. They will also learn about God, the fear of God. In any society, children they also need to learn about God in whatever denomination. As Christians, we believe in one God. In other believers, they have their own sort of what belief that they wanted, but of course, we believe in one God. So a child who grow up with the fear of God will actually be a child that can discourage violence at home. A child that can be able to tell daddy, this is not right. The child that will not lie, or that will tell the daddy that no, you are lying. A child that will tell her or his other fellow brother that what you are saying is not true. So the teachers' education program is not just about training them. It's about the value. It's about the change that we want to see, the everyday change that we want these children, because they are going to be the future of the country. So we are calling for well-wishers, for people outside, whether foundations, whether individual donors, whether or humanitarian organization, just to pull out any dollar, any coin, any cent, any pound that can actually contribute to the future of these children. So we are just appealing here today to share that mostly in South Sudan, the teachers actually lack incentives for them to be able to be motivated to move. They actually need facilitation to move from home. They need to have like bicycles. A teacher needs to have a basic studies, a bicycle, that he or she can be able to move early and reach to the school and prepare the class. The children need textbooks. They need They need quality materials, the blackboard, the chalkboard, the chalk. They also need benches. They need roof on the school. They need roofs on the school that is leaking, especially when it rains. They need windows that can stop actually the winds or the rain. So these are the things, dear Dinah, that we are advocating for.
I'm hoping that those who are listening in have taken in what Romano has said and what he's pleading for support from all those who listen in today. I'm hoping that this information is shared. Information about the context of the report will be in the information section of all the social media platforms which this recording will be shown on. There'll also be a link to the GoFundMe page to support the campaign, which is going to support not just the 100 teachers, but thousands of children as well, who's going to be benefiting from this training. Information about SSGID is going to also be in the information section, as well as information about IKan Academy and the relationship we have. So there's going to be so much information available to you. Please take a read. Please donate what you can. Every dollar, every cent is going to count. And share this information far and wide. As I said before, this is Education Rising, African Voices for the Future. And what Romano is speaking about is our future. And as we close out, Romano, are there any closing remarks before we close out? I think we may have lost Romano. But what I would say is thank you for all those who've taken time out to listen to Education Rising, African Voices for the Future. This is going to be a regular show, and we have an abundance of guests, educators, NGOs, thought leaders around the conversation of education in Africa. So I just want to say thank you. My name is Diana Powell, and this is IKan Academy Group, and I am hoping to see you soon. If you have got this far in the episode, I'm assuming that you like the show. Please hit the subscribe button. Please like, please share, please tell a friend. We can only get bigger guests, bigger location, and also value to you. So I'll see you in the next episode.